The Home Pros Radio Show.
I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections, and this is the Home Pros Radio Show podcast. For many homeowners, radon gas is a mystery. You can't see it. You can't smell it. In fact, there is no way to tangibly identify its presence in your home. This may be the reason why many homeowners tend to even write off the threat of high radon levels in their homes as a myth. Now, however, the truth is that all major health organizations agree that radon causes thousands of preventable lung cancer deaths every year. The list of these entities include the EPA, the CDC, the American Lung Association, the American Medical Association, and the World Health Organization. These organizations also agree that the number one source of exposure to radon gas happens right in our own homes. A local news story regarding radon in a real estate transaction has stirred up quite a buzz with listeners in our area, and this prompted Shane and I to spend some time clearing the air, so to speak, on this issue. We cover common misconceptions that homeowners have about radon, testing for radon, and radon mitigation. These misconceptions are important for all homeowners to be clear on, regardless of their stance on the issue. Coming up later in this podcast, we'll share with you some helpful resources that are designed to help you learn even more about radon and what you need to do to ensure that your homes are safe. But first, let's join the conversation as Shane and I discuss radon and help you to separate myth from fact.
Big news story this week. It made our phones ring at RIC Home Inspections. I'm sure it did at your place too, Shane.
Oh, yeah.
An upstate man says a well-known home builder refuses to refund his deposit after high levels of radon were found in the house that he and his wife are in the process of purchasing. Now, according to the report, which I have in front of me, the buyer claims that he discovered the radon after he signed a contract with the builder and provided a $5,000 deposit. The builder has offered to remediate the radon by installing an active radon ventilation system, which we can talk about what that means, and then having the home retested, but the company won't refund the buyer's earnest money, regardless of the choice that the home buyer makes. And so the home buyer's not happy about that. I think part of the issue here, just in seeing and hearing the show, and let me preface this by the fact that I am a certified radon measurement professional, and Shane, of course, you are certified in
measurement and mitigation.
In measurement and mitigation. So, I can tell you if something needs to be done. Shane knows how to fix it. And that's the important thing to remember, folks, here is in taking this story into consideration, it might help to cover some misconceptions about radon. Because what would happen is that story came out, and I was getting calls here and there for folks who heard it and were concerned, and they wanted to have a radon test done in their home. And then, of course, the question started. I found myself this week knocking down a number of misconceptions that I had heard. And one of them is that high radon levels in a home cannot be fixed. One thing that's important to remember, and the powers that be in the EPA, CDC, and others, they'll say, hey, if your home has high levels, don't fret. It can be fixed. In fact, in the home buyers and sellers guide to radon, they actually say in there, never make a purchasing decision based off of radon result.
Right. Yeah, and I saw a lot of comments on social media about around this particular article. It was obvious that the awareness is not very good.
That's what it did me.
I saw where someone had posted something about they got it without a home inspection. You wouldn't have known anything about the radon levels until the house was built. I mean, you wouldn't be out there testing radon out in the open air. Yeah. I mean, the house has to be built for that first. I mean, so I saw a lot of comments that it brought it to my attention even more that the awareness is not there. There needs to be a lot more education and just general awareness about radon, because really the only time people ever encounter it is when there's a real estate transaction, because luckily at least the real estate industry has started making the awareness there. But, radon exists even if it's not a real estate transaction. I mean, it's still there, but it is fixable, I guess is the best way to put it.
And
it can be.
And rather inexpensively, surprisingly enough. I mean, you're looking at less than what it would cost to replace a heating and air system or a roof or many other common repairs around the home that folks save up for. I mean, you might be looking at I think the news story said something about a couple $1,000s to mitigate the home, but with it being new construction and the standards that Greenville County have, it's a lot less than that.
Yeah. The pipe's already in place. I mean, at this point in time, it's just making it active, which is to add a fan and a manometer on it. It's not expensive at all to do that or to make it active at this point in time with the passive system already being in place. But yeah, I did see a lot of stuff about it. And yeah, it's just always keep in mind that it can be mitigated. And another thing that gets me is, everyone uses the 4 picocuries per liter. I know I'm getting into action level. I'm really jumping way up. I'm saying words now that a lot of people probably haven't even heard.
What?
That's the action level. But if you're looking at a house and it's 3.8 picocuries per liter, but if you get it mitigated, let's say it's 4.5 in the beginning, you get it mitigated and it's down to 1. I would rather the one that's mitigated. I mean, you can get the levels way lower, even though they're elevated at the beginning. So, it's just one of those things. Like I say, it's awareness more than anything.
Yep. Another thing that I've heard and do hear on a regular basis is, this house is on a slab, so I probably don't need to worry about radon. What do you think of that?
I need your sound bar.
I need to play this. Incorrecto. Actually, that would raise the bar, I would say.
Right.
Raise the importance level.
Yeah, we're not supposed to say a certain foundation type or whatever is more elevated typically, but there are. I mean, we know certain things about it, but I don't like openly saying it because I don't want to lead someone in the direction that they don't think they have to check it for any certain reason. But
let's make that clear. All homes, according to the EPA, CDC, Centers for Disease Control, all homes should be checked for radon, regardless of where you are, where you live, what kind of foundation you have. There are advantages and disadvantages to different types of foundations, but they all should be checked. Another misconception, I hear this a lot. Well, the house has been closed up for quite some time, so levels are going to be higher. Can we do a retest? Can we air out the house and do a retest? That would be incorrect. And here's why. Radon levels reach equilibrium in less than 12 hours inside a home, and they don't get any higher. And it's because radon is a radioactive gas, and it has a half-life.
Explain this to me like I'm a 2-year-old, okay? Because there's an element to this thing I just cannot get through my thick head.
All right, Denzel, let's explain it. The known half-life of radon is 3.8 days. So every 3.8 days, half of whatever level of radon you have has dissipated or decays away. So the radon that is recorded on a radon test that has entered the building, it has entered the building very recently, within the last several days. So the radon that entered the house 2 months ago is long gone, thanks to that 3.8-day half-life. Another point to make here is every structure has some form of a natural air exchange or ventilation rate. We talk about this with building physics all the time, energy efficiency and things like that. This means that the interior air in the house escapes out into the atmosphere, leaves the building envelope with new air coming into the home on a regular and consistent basis. We want that. That's what keeps our air fresh and safe and that sort of thing. So, just because a home has been closed up, no home is 100% airtight. Right. So it's breathing, and we want that. It's a good thing. Another thing that we want to mention, too, is I hear this time of year. Well, the radon levels are high because it's cold outside. I've heard it. And that temperature has nothing to do with it. Weather can affect it, but that is not an issue.
Pressures are more likely to change things.
Absolutely.
I mean, radon's it's tricky, and people think you can do this or that to make things happen. There's a lot of different building physics that go into radon and radon testing and mitigation. I've actually seen where people have opened windows and the elevations have gone up. You absolutely see it. People think, okay, I'm just going to air it out. Well, maybe you opened it up to where now air's coming in or going out and pushing the air on the slab or whatever in a different way. Now it's pushing the gas up from underneath. I mean, there's a lot of different building physics that go into this. So people just out there trying to experiment by opening windows or doing this.
You mentioned a very good point that I don't have down here as a misconception, and that is the fact that, opening up the house will air it out so I can get lower levels and hopefully pass the be able to sell this house. Well, just like Shane said, you can actually be opening up the home to the possibility of raising the levels skewing the levels high. So you don't want to do that either. You never know until the test is done. Get the test done right so we know where we stand. Another misconception, radon is only found in older homes. Jen A, who's watching on our Facebook Live, she sent a message saying, hey, what can you tell us when passive systems were required? We're talking about active and passive systems. Passive ventilation systems for the home is how you fix radon. It's basically the piping going up from underneath your foundation of your home, up through the middle of the house, up through the roof. And then active is putting a fan on it to draw the air up. But from what I understand, building codes in Greenville County started requiring passive systems. Last time I checked with the county was 1996. So that's Greenville County. Now, you could, in different jurisdictions, whether, in our area, you might have, Simpsonville, Greer, and other local jurisdictions were different times. So just like that goes into the conversation we've had about building codes. But chances are, if your home was built at least in the last, 10 to 15 years,
20.
If it's new, you should have at least a passive system installed.
Right.
That takes the actual mitigation process down from an investment of like $3,000 to hundreds of dollars.
Right.
It's a lot cheaper.
Huge difference. The one thing that I always warn people if there is a passive system is I can't guarantee the workmanship of the system when it was installed. If it is in a slab, that's when I'm really concerned with the workmanship, because for all I know that the bottom of that pipe is full of concrete because it's in a slab or below the slab. But typically I would say, I never have really encountered it being full of concrete. I'm just afraid that one day I will encounter that. Typically, you put the fan in and it works. The thing is, on a passive system in a crawl space, typically, all the plastic's not sealed, so there's still a lot of work that has to go into it. It's just the pipe is up and through the roof and in place. So, but yeah, the passive system being in place definitely saves a lot of money, and it has been around 20-ish years, that as being part of the code. And like you said, different jurisdictions adopted that part at different times. You just have to, it's always tricky when they say, well, should this one have it? Because I don't know exactly when every jurisdiction adopted the passive radon system.
And that's one of the reasons why folks like me don't do code inspections, because I could be sitting there and saying, well, I know what Greenville County requires, but we might be in this city of Simpsonville while I'm doing an inspection, and I don't know when it was required, so I'd be overstepping my bounds. By the way, if you have a home inspector who ever says, code is this is the way it should be, that should be a little red flag, because we're not code inspectors, but we are hired to share the knowledge of when things like this were in place and to provide guidance. But when you go to quoting codes, it's not necessarily set in stone just because it comes from a home inspector. Another misconception, I heard this on the phone yesterday when I was talking to a gentleman who was trying to decide should he have his home tested. His neighbor was like, nah, I've had mine tested. You don't have to worry about it. That's another misconception. That's right, because, hey, radon levels vary from house to house. It really has to do with the content of the soil beneath your home. The amount, where does it come from? It comes from uranium decomposing in the soil. So depending on the amount of uranium you literally have under your home, that can also raise or lower the levels beneath your home. And here's another one I'd like to hit real quick. My home has already been tested, so I'm free and clear. I had it done when I had my home inspection. Well, homes should be retested every 5 years. Unless there has been a change in your building envelope, should be done sooner. Or if there's been a change in the environment, if you've had like an earthquake or something, which hopefully we don't deal with. But every 5 years. And also, if your radon levels were high initially and you've had the home mitigated, you should really retest like every 2 years.
Yeah, I definitely think so, because well, who's to say that the system hasn't failed in some kind of way? Because there's several different parts of the system that can fail.
I've been in the middle of home inspections, and I'm like, you got a mitigation system here. It's not working.
Right, yeah. And sometimes they're just turned off. People don't like the sound that they made. Or what, I mean, I've seen it like and heard all of that. But And one thing that you did mention there was the changes around the house, because if you're in a subdivision, like let's say there's still construction.
You see, you build
construction going around.
Yeah. Changes.
Yeah. I mean, because somebody digs out, say somebody digs out for a basement right next door to you, and now you got wind blowing into that area, it could blow that gas up in your house.
Every time we plop a home on the soil, it changes the way gas leaves the earth. So it's something as simple as a home being built next door could increase the chance that you might have a change in the radon levels in your home. So it's really a fascinating thing, and maybe we should get into the nuts and bolts of it all one episode. But yeah, very interesting stuff. So now, who can you call? Who do you call?
Ghostbusters.
For testing. If you need some testing done, you can call someone like me, a home inspector who can do it. But thanks to our show partnerships, we have Radon Recon, who you can call.
But yeah, if anybody out there needs any information, definitely go on, to the website. They go to the RIC Home Inspection website. They could go to the Radon Recon website, to get information. I know Radon Recon does have pamphlets that are nothing but information on radon, the EPA guidelines, and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of information out there. It's just not spread as good as it probably should be.
Yeah. For more on how to handle the threat of radon in your home, we recommend visiting the EPA.gov/radon website. That's where you're going to find, this is the place to start. That's where you're going to find a citizen's guide to radon, protecting yourself and your family from radon. So folks out there who want to know more, who want more information, feel free to give us a call. But also, this is a great stepping off point if you want to learn more and you're concerned. It's the Citizen's Guide to Radon. It's a publication provided by EPA, and it's found at epa.gov/radon.
To get a hold of our show partner, Radon Recon, you can find them online at radonrecon.com, or you can call their office directly at 864-350-0300. Again, to learn more about radon and your home, we highly recommend A Citizen's Guide to Radon, the guide to protecting yourself and your family from radon. We've provided a direct link to this publication from the Environmental Protection Agency in our podcast show notes. You can also find it online, as we mentioned on the air, at epa.gov/radon. This publication will give you the basic information you need in order to ensure the safety of your home. Now make sure you keep an eye out for future episodes of the Home Pros Radio Show podcast, as we'll dig into the topic of radon even deeper. We'll explain further about what radon gas is and how it enters our home. We'll also discuss how to properly test your home for high radon levels and what to do to correct our homes when high radon levels are discovered. We'll also be discussing how to handle radon and radon testing inside of a real estate transaction. Information that will certainly come in handy if you're buying or selling your home. To keep up to date on these episodes as they're released, make sure you subscribe to the Home Pros Radio Show podcast. Plus, please don't hesitate to share our episodes with others who will benefit from the information we share on the show. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay in touch with what's going on in the Home Pros community. And of course, we encourage you to visit our website at homeprosradio.com. I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections, and I'm looking forward to being with you next time on the Home Pros Radio Show podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Home Pros Radio Show. If you have a question for the Home Pros, visit us online at homeprosradio.com, where you can contact us directly and also learn more about the topics and guests we bring to you each week. It's the Home Pros Radio Show online at homeprosradio.com or on the radio at 94.5 WGTK, The Answer.